Dallas, make it hurt.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Willing to Learn, where we believe that when we know more, we can do more. I'm your host, Dr. Ashley Dominguez. Today's guest is Dr. Nguyen, an assistant professor in the Educational Policy Studies and Practice. Dr. Nguyen is an interdisciplinary educational sociologist. Her research focuses on educational equity, social justice, and diversity in K-12 and higher education. Her PhD is in educational leadership and comparative and international education from the Pennsylvania State University. She's earned a master's degree in education, culture, and society from the University of Pennsylvania and a bachelor's degree in international studies from Hanoi University. Having a social justice-driven research agenda, Dr. Nguyen explores issues related to social justice leadership, both inside and outside the school, in particular, school leaders and nonprofit community organizers, in order to develop new ways of thinking about the causes of and solutions to educational inequity in the United States and globally. Using ethnography, document analysis, quantitative inquiry, and mixed methods, her work investigates how educational opportunity has been distributed in different societies, racial and ethnic groups, income levels, and geographical locations. Comparing the practices of social justice leadership across cultural, national, and institutional settings, her research contributes to a more comprehensive understanding of inequity and the intervention made by educational leaders to close the achievement gap for underprivileged students. If that wasn't enough, Dr. Nguyen is also an influencer and a brand creator, an entrepreneur, and a businesswoman. She has an impressive following on social media, a blog, a podcast, all under the name of The Present Writer. She has over 1 million views on her content. Please welcome to the podcast, Dr. Nguyen. Hi, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Ashley. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you. So let's just jump right in. If you could tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what led you to this work.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nguyen. I'm currently assistant professor in the Educational Leadership Program at the University of Arizona. I study social justice leadership, immigrant education, and international student. So what led me to this work is my original desire to learn about social justice and equity. So I had my bachelor degree in international studies. Actually, I graduated from Hanoi. University, and with the international study degree, I had opportunity to travel when I was very young. So when I was 19, I was invited to attend international conferences in Peru and in the US.
Wow.
And yeah, so in that role, I was a student diplomat. So that's what I thought I want to do at that time. However, especially when I was in the conference in Peru, in Lima, Peru, I was invited in many different beautiful places for conference, wonderful food, people dressed so nice and everyone's welcoming. However, at nighttime, because I was 19 and I'm really adventurous, so I took the cab to see the city, and I see, small houses on the mountain, people living completely different life than I experienced in the daytime. And I started asking questions to my colleagues and folks who attended the conference, and people from Peru explained to me that in Peru, there is a big gap between rich and poor, similar to Vietnam, where it's originally from. But they explained the way that make me feel really disconnect with the conference and disconnect with the idea of being diplomat. And I also learned from the conference that I will not be a good diplomatic person, just the way I am as an introverted person and the way I reach out to people for deeper connection rather than diplomatic networking. And so that event led to my decision to pivot my education to more social justice oriented, and that led me to my work today.
Nice. So take me back to fall 2013, because I know you were living in Vietnam at the time, and then you made this huge monumental decision to come to the U.S. to continue your education at the University of Pennsylvania. So first, how are you feeling as an international student making this decision, and what made you actually make that big jump over to come over to the United States?
Yeah, it actually related to the trip to Peru and the US. So during the trip to Peru and the US, I had the opportunity to visit some places in the big city. So Philadelphia is one of the cities that I visited during that time. And I came to the campus, University of Pennsylvania campus, and instantly I feel a sense of connection, a sense of belonging. I just love the campus. I just feel that I would be wonderful if I have opportunity to study there. But at University of Pennsylvania or UPenn in Ivy League, private university is really expensive. And I'm from a lower middle class family in Vietnam. There was no way my parents could give me the opportunity to go there with my own our money, and so I had to figure out a way to find scholarship, and so that led to multiple years of trying to finish up my bachelor degree in Vietnam, sharpen my English, learn how to write essays in English, learn how to apply for scholarship, especially in education. So back then, about 10 years ago, there at that time there were certain groups in Vietnam, people gather and do mentoring for study abroad application, but most of them at that time were STEM fields. And almost very few people in liberal arts and social sciences and education is at that time only people want to go abroad to study English as a second language teaching program, and not education in the sense of like educational leadership or educational policy or social justice, cultural oriented program like I wanted. And so I had to figure out a lot on my own. And so I also I at that time I wanted to go to study abroad right away after I graduate from my university, but I was not ready at that time financially. My English wasn't that good, and then I feel I need more experience because I switched my field from international study to education. So I actually worked for over a year as a technical academic support for an international program at Vietnam National University, which is one of the biggest university in Vietnam. So I learned a lot about education, and the more I learn, the more I realize I want to follow my passion. And so I actually quit my job and I focused on applying for a year. And so I got a partial scholarship. And then I went to UPenn and I worked and studied at the same time. And I learned a lot. And it's really wonderful experience.
Wow, thank you for sharing. So, how did you, now that you're a student, not all students decide to pursue education and want to finish and go get a PhD or are interested in publishing and research. Where was that shift in you as a student where you knew that was a direction you wanted to take?
Wow. Yeah, that's a very important question. So most people when they with during the study in bachelor degree, a lot of them see, okay, so we'll go to master program, I'll go to work right away. And maybe you in a master program, you wonder, okay, should I go to PhD or
Mhm.
should I just with a master degree go to work? I encountered that decision before. And I remember there's one time that I actually when I was undergrad, while I was in my undergrad program, actually, because of the trip to Peru and the US, I have to skip some classes. And this is allowed at my university because I was invited from the university to travel. And so I didn't attend some of the classes. And then the professor at that time, the professor gave me the final paper. And because I didn't study for like a month, so I actually failed that test. And so the professor was told me that I can retake the test, but he allowed me to have maybe a few weeks to study the material. And I
Okay.
asked around with my friends, and they said, "Oh my god, the material is horrible. It was very difficult. The book is very hard to
What,
understand, even though with."
what was the content of the class again?
So the math class is a class with international relations. So the
Okay.
class in national relations, yes. And the book is the name of the book also international relations. I forgot the name of the author, but it was very difficult text. It's not only the content it was very dense, but also the writing style, also very traditional academic style. So it was very difficult. So I remember I opened the book and I keep like opening and closed my eye. I was so sleepy, I couldn't focus, but I couldn't afford to to fail the test,
Right.
especially when I just came back from a big diplomatic trip. It would be terrible. And so I was trying to focus, and the beginning I was reading the book with a dictionary. So every term that I didn't understand, I would look at the dictionary. And back then there was no iPhone. There's no dictionary you can
Right
look up.
hand.
No. So then you had to have physical dictionary. And some of them doesn't have enough word, it's challenging. And then I realized, okay, I couldn't do this no more, because if I keep reading like this, it would take me forever. And so I start train myself to, okay, so I will read to understand the concepts. And when I understand the concept, I will keep moving. I will only look for words in dictionary if that word is important for me to understand the concept. So that's how I get through the books. And once I realized that, it start like opening up for me. The book opened up for me. So I was like, wow, I never learned about this before. And so the books was written by Western authors and in English. And there is a chapter about the Vietnam War. Okay, and so this is very controversial topic for Vietnamese people. So in Vietnam, at least in the north where I grew up, we don't call it Vietnam War. We call it the war against US.
Oh,
So with the different language, you can see that different side of the war. And so the reasons or the explanation that I was given in the Vietnamese state provided textbook, let's just say, is completely different from the version I read in that English textbook.
right.
And without going too deep in that topic, I just realized that, wow, even when people talk about the history, they can see a very different way. And I can totally understand why different explanation would serve different population.
Mhm.
And I just really fascinated with that. I was like, wow, like, I really want to learn more about this from different perspective. I really want to dive deep in it. And so I was studying, and I realized I just absolutely love it. I even wrote a blog about the book because
Wow.
I love it so much. And it's still a very difficult book. And because I was studying hard, so I actually passed the test with high score. So actually, by retaking the test, my overall score actually improved, which
Wow.
is funny. Yeah, and so from that point, I realized, okay, so actually, I really enjoy. At that time, I didn't know it called research, but I really enjoy reading deeply or understanding a topic deeply and find out a truth or multiple truths, but
Mhm.
process it from my own thinking, from using my own brain of kind of figure out making meanings of things. And so as I go through the master program at UPenn, it's confirmed my belief that I really enjoy doing research. And within my first semester at UPenn, I applied for PhD programs, and
So
I
it
got into.
instantly felt like, okay, after this first semester, I could see myself continuing towards a doctorate.
Well, that, but also have another factor into it. So I told you beginning, I didn't have a lot of financial means.
Right.
So the master program at UPenn, you can take it anytime from 1.5 to 2 years, but I didn't get that option
Mhm.
because I just couldn't afford living in Philadelphia without jobs for 2 years.
Mhm.
So that at UPenn at that time, they allowed you to take, normally professor recommended you to take 3 courses at the same time, and I took 4. And at UPenn at time, if you take the fifth one, it's free. So I actually ended up take 5 courses, same in one semester, and my goal is to finish the program within a year to save as much money as possible. And on top of that, I work part time at the university as a research assistant, and so that leading to the project I sent you actually before the podcast. But however, just because of also knowing that I love research and just confirming that I love doing research in the US. I don't want to really go back to Vietnam. I really want to get more English text, understand different perspective outside of my comfort zone, but also because of financial strain and the time crunch that really pushed me to make decision quickly to go through the master program, then entering a PhD program.
That's very impressive. If you think about it, new country, new language, 5 classes, part-time job. How did you do it? How
It
did
was
what sustained you with these goals in mind? What kept you going?
it was very tough. It's not sustainable at all. So I'm
Right.
not saying people doing exactly what I did. It's actually very horrible. So I remember I was studying at the university in the library until 2 a.m. And for a long time, I didn't go home. So I came to the university, like I came to the campus when it was still very dark, like 5 or 6. And I didn't leave until 2 in the morning the next day. And so I didn't know anything happened outside of campus. And so my friend would text me, "Did you see the flower today? It's spring already." I didn't see no flower. Like it was very bad. And I thought actually at that time I started learning more about mental health. And I had opportunity to access this free mental health program, UPenn, and so that helped me a lot. But it was not sustainable at all. There was a period of time that I didn't sleep for 2 days. So I
Right.
didn't know that it's even possible for human to not sleep for 2 days straight. But I did 48 hours not sleeping, just working on paper. But then
Right.
it took me another 2 weeks to recover,
Mm.
and so it's not sustainable. But I think the thing that keep me going is the it's just obsession. I just really, really want to do it. I really want to do it. And at that time, my advisor at that time was not, I would say he's not completely on board with the idea of me going to PhD program. He was
Alright.
like, "Okay, what do you think about going back to Vietnam and apply again? That way you have
Why
more."
is
With
that? Do you know why he or they
Yeah, and
encouraged you back?
so I mentioned the idea of me applying for PhD program when I in our first meeting, and he was like, "Oh, it's very competitive to get a PhD program," which I agree. But however, one part that I didn't mention earlier was that when I was in Vietnam, I actually did apply for PhD program and I got accepted. At the same time, I got accepted at UPenn for master degree, but my application that time were not funded. So I was got into program without funding. And
Right.
so I told my advisor at that time that, well, I actually got accepted. I just didn't get the funding. And he was saying, "Well, you see, yeah, they can accept you because of the money, international student. They think that you have money, but you might not get the funding," which is true, but also like soul crushing.
Right.
Um, However, so I get a lot of people like that. They give suggestion that it's very hard to do, it's very difficult. And people back in Vietnam, and so my friends say, "Are you sure you want to go for a PhD program? It's like 5 years." At the time, I was like 27. So like when you're done with the program, you're 30, and what happened? You have not married, all that kind of question. And so, but I never get into my head because I was so obsessed with
Mm.
the idea of me finding out finally what I want to do in life. And I love it so much to the point that I couldn't see myself doing anything else. So sometime I think at that time I thought that is what a curse because um, you should not be that obsessive. You should not be too extreme. You should give yourself different options. But I just couldn't see myself doing anything else. So yeah, that get me going because I couldn't see any other way.
It sound like once you had set your eyes on the target, it was like, "That was it, tunnel vision, this is what I'm gonna do, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna do whatever it takes to
yeah,
get there."
yeah.
Well, for what advice would you have for perhaps other international students who are thinking making that jump from leaving their countries to come to the United States, pursuing graduate studies, or just graduate students as a whole who are contemplating, is going to graduate school the right decision for me?
Yeah, so I think graduate school is completely different from undergrad from my own experience. So undergrad, I feel like nowadays a lot of people could access to go to college and sometimes folks who do not want to go to college, but because their parents was able to pay their way and also encourage them to get a college degree as like something to just go for find a job. And so when I was in my undergrad program, it was a wonderful program. But some student was not. really into it and not really into the major, just go at the flow and to get the degree. However, when I went back to get my master program, everyone um, wanted to go back for a reason. So either they realize that they really love the topic, the major, like myself, I want to stay further, or they want to get a degree and get further in their career, or whatever reason, but they there for a purpose. And so the focus, the interest, the attention is really high in graduate program. That's why I love teaching graduate courses, because it's very different vibe from undergrad. And so if I think about any advice, I would think that for graduate student or potential graduate student in general, you want to know what is your purpose, what's your big why you want to go back, or why you want to go further in your graduate program. What is your big why? So I told you my big why is that I couldn't see other way because this is something I love. But other people have other big why, and it's no reason are less legitimate compared to others. So like you want to get a PhD, let's say, to become a superintendent, or you want to transition your career from being practitioner to professor. That can be one way, or you just genuinely want to switch field, which like me, I have different field in undergrad. So you want to find out your why. And so having a big why will really help you when you're in a difficult time. And trust me, in graduate school, actually, there was so many difficult time. The time that you wake up 6 a.m. and you not come home until 2 a.m. You need to understand, okay, so I'm here because I have this big why. So that is my first advice for graduate student or graduate student to be in general. For the national, it's going to be a big jump, being from your own country, your own culture to a new place. So just give an example. So in Vietnam, we often study in big classes of like 50 students, even 200 students. So every time you want to say anything, you have to like raise your hand like this, and the teacher will call you and you will stand up. And so everyone will look at you, and you bet you have to say something good. If you say something like
High
not
pressure
good,
situation, right?
I know it's
And I'm
intense.
and I'm guessing the student has to stand up just so that the professor can find them.
Yeah, you for them and hear them clearly, but also it's like really intimidating. So I came to the US, and like the class is smaller, people sit in a circle and students just talk. They don't raise hand. So I just find myself doing this, and I did it even during my meeting, like a Zoom. I was still doing that, even though it's just me, like this, me and you. I still do it to signal that I want to talk.
Right.
And it took me this long time to get over the anxiety in the classroom and okay, figure out when I should raise my hand or not, or when how can I jump into the conversation, because it's just a different culture. And so now as I become a professor, I learn from my own experience. So I build in different way for students to discuss, like small group discussion, writings in discussion board, because I learned that some people are just more comfortable writing rather than speaking up. And so anyway, so what my point is that for the national student, it will take a period of time to adjust. So in my opinion, and in my talking with a lot of the other national students, a lot of people say 3 months would be the time that a time period that allow them to completely understand, or not completely, but maybe beginning to like get a grasp of reality of different country, figure out the best way to write paper or to work on the assignment, to communicate with professor and students. So for a lot of internationals, just take your time and don't feel like you have to be perfect in the beginning, and don't feel that people will judge you. You come from a different place, and there is nothing to be ashamed of if the way your way of thinking, your language, and your culture are different. It different doesn't mean negative. Yeah, so just take your time, and you'll get there.
No, I think that's great advice, and I love the idea of letting that passion drive you in your study and your purpose for returning back to graduate studies. For me as well, I believe there was about a 10-year gap between finishing my undergraduate degree and then going back to graduate school.
Oh, wow.
And so I really like this idea of using your life experience and your interest and your career and all of these together merge to allow us to drive like, oh, I'm going to go back and this is what I'm going to do. Same for me as well. I had a low GPA in my undergraduate studies. I wasn't the best student. I didn't feel focused. I didn't know my target. But I will tell you this, by the time I decided to go back to pursue my master's, I knew exactly what I was doing.
Yes.
And I was a straight A student. So whether that's age, self-development, my interest, my own personal evolution, it really transformed who I was as a student and also gave me increasingly amount of confidence in my abilities to participate in academics that I had never seen myself that way before. I didn't think I was smart or capable or in any way in pursuit of obtaining a PhD in the future. No one in my family, had
Mm.
a PhD. No one in my family had gone to college. So it was really exploring unforeseen territory. So I love the way that you described this, especially in your case, being an international student, because that journey is just so much, I think, requires a little bit more, so much more bravery in sense,
Yes. Yeah.
especially you're exploring a foreign land. So I
Mhm.
appreciate you sharing that. Take me to your first research project, the Vietnamese Immigrant Project that resulted in 2 papers. How did the project come about? How did you collaborate as a research assistant?
Yeah, and so during my time at UPenn, in my first semester, I was really need to make money. I really need to make money because I don't have the financial support that the scholarship only get me so far. But on top of that, I really want to have research experience for the doctoral application, and I couldn't find anywhere because professor, similar to my advisor, met with me and say why they already have assumption, and I know I didn't hold them anything against them for that because if your time as professor is very limited and if you want to collaborate with someone, you want to collaborate with people who already have experience in language, right? And so that are two things that I didn't have that time. So I started to attend some certain career groups, career club organized by students, and I told everyone like, if you see anything, let me know. I really need to work. Anything research would be great. And so the day that my professor at that time, now my co-author, my dear mentor, Dr. Ran Green, he posted a post asking for a research assistant that know Vietnamese and English to collect data in the Vietnamese immigrant community. Everyone told me, "Do you didn't see this?" They email me, they reach out to me, "Do you see that?" And I was just like, wow, not only I saw this post, but people around me talked to me about this, kind of like it was for me.
Mhm.
So I applied for the position. I was interviewed, and the interview went very well. And so I remember when Dr. Quinn asked me about one of my experience in Vietnam. At the time, I was actually a co-founder of a youth organization. So Vietnam is a socialist country, it's government control, and so having a nonprofit organization is extremely difficult. But we managed to create organization at that time, and I seemed like Dr. Quinn was impressed with that work. And because the project in Philadelphia at that time is about immigrant youth. And so he asked me about that experience. I explained to him, and he asked me if I can work independently. And I told him that I came to the US by myself. I can do everything by myself. And so I got the job. And I remember he just wanted to hire me for doing data collection. The main reason because I can speak both languages. So he needed a person who came to this program that organized for Vietnamese immigrant youth and collect data. And later on, I would share with him and understand what the program is about and how that helped migrant youth in Philadelphia. So, but he asked me to did a small literature review to explore the Vietnamese immigrant population in the US. So I did that. And I remember I was thinking that, okay, so there are several ways to do the literature review. I thought about it. And there's some way that you just need to outline, you put the citation on, and you just do a summary, you copy paste from the abstract. But another way was the way that made me feel like because I wanted to understand the Vietnamese immigrant community in the US, because I was international at that time. I was not an immigrant. And because I came from the north of Vietnam, so I once and raised in Hanoi. And the majority of Vietnamese immigrant folks in the US actually from the south. Following the Vietnam War, the fall of Saigon, they migrated to the US. And so I really want to understand because that part of history was not mentioned explicitly in my textbook growing up in the north of Vietnam. And so I genuinely understand. So I ended up writing the entire literature review. So I wrote not only mention the citation, but I incorporate into paragraphs. And so I submitted to him. And he was impressed at my writing skill. And I think it caught him by surprise, just like everyone say, oh, wow, you international student, how did you write so well? And I'm a natural writer. So my grandparents and my parents, they are all writers and editors. So, but in Vietnamese, we don't love English. But I learned how to translate that skill to English. And luckily, my undergrad program in Vietnam was in English. So I used to write in English. And so after receiving that literature review, Ren told me that, hey, actually, do you want to be co-author in this project? It's come out in the article. You want to co-author? Of course, I say yes. And so that is the beginning of my first publication. So during that summer, the summer before me moving to Penn State for my PhD, I worked in the Vietnamese immigrant community in Philadelphia. I was observing and interviewing youth in a immigrant youth civic program. So that's a program that is a very wonderful program. Actually, it provided Vietnamese history, American history for Vietnamese youth, and have certain building activities and debate about difficult topic. For example, the relationship between Vietnamese or Asian American and African Americans, the relationship between African American and white Caucasians. That something that normally people do not talk about in the Vietnamese Asian family, not a school. And so it was a wonderful program. And I learned so much. I took qualitative classes, but doing the observation and interview in real life is completely different experience. And also writing about it and then crafting the letter to the editors and then the respond to the reviewers and figure out where to submit it, how to write a research article. And so I learned so much from that experience. And I'm truly grateful for Dr. Quinn to believe in me. And to this day, I pay it forward. So every time I see international student or minority student who have the potential, they might not be there yet. They might not be the point like, oh, I love that person to be my research assistant, but I can see the potential. I'm willing to take that risk to meet them in the middle because I was given opportunity like that before.
Yes, I often hear that from graduate students as well, where they're like, "Oh, well, how do you find these opportunities? Like, I feel like I don't like, how do you get started on a paper? How do you get invited to collaborate on a project?" And I like that you highlighted in your story that you were, in a way, manifesting it. You were putting it out into the world. You weren't just waiting for it while searching online, looking for calls. That is one approach, of course, that can help you find these types of opportunities. But also you were going around by word of mouth and saying, "Hey, I need money. I need a job." Like, have you heard of anything, any research opportunities? And it just so happened to be that an opportunity came your way that not only started it as something small, like composing a literature review section, but then into data collection, analysis, and then to publications after. And at this point, this was before your PhD or
Yeah.
program, correct?
So I started the project when I was a master's student, but the project continued on
In
when I was a PhD student at Penn State. We continue collaborating, writing this work, and I think by my second or third year, my PhD and the two papers was out.
Right, because it takes a long time, obviously.
It's long time. Yeah.
Right, so a lot of life can happen in between. So, but these two pieces came out, and did you feel like more confirmation on your journey of, okay, this is what I want to study as a researcher? Because a lot of times we hear about researcher identity, scholar identity, and trying to align our interests with who we are and what we write about. So at this point, are you feeling some type of confirmation that you're in the right place, you're doing the work that you want to be doing?
Yes, so I completely love it. There was a lot of challenges along the way, and I made a lot of mistakes. But I just love, as academic professor, we often complain that, oh my God, today I only wrote like 2 sentences.
Mhm.
I don't know if that happened to you, but it happened to me more often than I want to admit. We read a lot and we write and we edit it and two sentences. So that happened to me when I started the writing for the article. And like some other painful part, like you wrote like a pages and then in the end you have to delete a lot and keep maybe like half a paragraph.
The agony, right? To be like, I
I
don't
know.
want, no, I'm not going to use it.
I
I
know.
try to save it though. I don't know if you have,
Yes, I did. I did
but
have like a save limit.
no writing is deleted. Like it's copy
Yeah.
and pasted in some secret private folder that I return to when I'm in a hard spot. I'm looking for ideas or other writing that like, oh, maybe this actually can fit over here, right?
Yeah, I did that too. But what I meant to say that, so there was moment like that. But then I was at time like, oh my God, it's so crazy. But then I stepped away from it a little bit and I'm like, oh my God, what type of job in the world that will pay me to write two sentences to an assistant the whole day? And I said, I would not want to do anything else but this. And so that during the time I was at Penn State is make me realize that, well, I could go to do research in the industry or in nonprofits, which I did before, or continue the journey to become a professor. And again, I just realized that, wow, I really enjoy research. I really like the flexibility. So I did the 9 to 5 before and it's completely crushed me. I just couldn't do it. However, later on in my journey, yeah, later on in my journey and toward the end of my PhD, due to several other uh, reasons, finance, and I have a young children at that time, COVID, I actually ended up working as a data analyst at Penn State. So that is the 9 to 5. But the whole thing would just make me realize that I actually only wanted to be professor. So the two articles definitely confirm my suspicions that this is my path, but it also get to another big why. It's not only completing my PhD program, but what to do next.
Mhm.
And I know that my next journey is to become a professor, but I actually the job market, academic job market is horrible. And I graduated during COVID 2020, which is the worst. So I was interviewed left and right, but then all position shut down. And it was really hard at that time. I got a newborn and I also went through a lot to finish my dissertation and everything. But every time I look back at my journey, I just couldn't see myself doing anything else again. So I just know that I have to keep going. So funny thing is that I would actually wanted to give up applying for academic position that year. And I told my husband, like, well, you know what? Maybe I'm okay being a data analyst. I just have to negotiate to work from home. But I don't know if I want to try again because I've been trying and, thing happened. And my husband was like, no, you have to do this because no one loved university more than you. Like he was saying that, wow, we went for vacation, then people went to like destination, but you went to campuses to visit. That is my definition of vacation. So he said you should really at least try one more time. And so that time I tried and I got my position right now with as the UA with Ashley. So that worked out.
That's so nice too that you had a witness, someone who can almost like pull you back to reality. Like, hey, don't give up on this. Like, I know it's hard. I know there's a million and one reasons where you can walk away, try something else. But at least you had someone in your corner, so to speak, that said, no, like keep trying. Like it's gonna happen. And then it was able to happen. So you're gonna apply that faith. So shout out husband.
Mhm.
So take me to your blog, The Present
Mm.
Writer. What inspired your willingness to create a blog and discuss educational topics online and develop an audience?
Yeah. So in the summer of 2016, I was in my second year, coming to my third year at a PhD at Penn State. And I wrote a lot and read a lot about social justice, leadership, and educational equity. And I was very good at it. I was a straight A student. I got my research assistantship right away. People love me. I have application. However, deep down inside, I just feel like I was a fraud. I was imposter because here I am in the most wealthiest country in the world talking about social justice equity. Meanwhile, in my home country, I see it everywhere on the news. People struggle with access to education. There's a lot of misinformation or lack of information about education. Just I can see a lot of my younger self didn't get the same educational resources and level that I received in the US. And so I just think a lot about, okay, so how can I apply what I learn or share what I learned to the world and to really do something with what I study. Of course, publication in one way, but publication take a long time to write, and then God know how long people will read it and then applying it. So I want to do something quicker. I want to make impact, but real life impact. And so I think I thought hard and long, and I decided to open a blog. I call it the Present Writer, and I intended to write in Vietnamese because at that time I have not written in Vietnamese for a long time, and my Vietnamese started crumbling. Not like conversational Vietnamese, but the academic Vietnamese, the Vietnamese to communicate the written language. I feel I start losing some of it, and so I start writing the blog, and so I start writing about educational topic and my journey in the US and what I learned. And then so at that time I was really into the minimalist lifestyle. So which is a lifestyle that you simplify your life, focusing on what's most important and get rid of things that's no longer serve you a purpose, or even relationships that are very toxic to you, or negative feelings that you feel that is harming your progress. And so I really into that minimalist lifestyle, and I blog about it, and I also use educational theories and sociology social theory to analyze why this minimalist lifestyle can really help people be more productive and live a full life. And so that is the theme of my blog for a long time. And then a publisher, actually multiple publisher, reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to turn these blog posts into a book?" And I agree.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, there
And
was
sorry, just quick question. At this point, are you like, what do you think your readership is like? What do you like in this beginning of creating and starting to release? Like, do you feel like, like maybe a few people are checking it out? Or do you feel like really quickly you had success?
so beginning just my mom. Like so I wrote my blog draft and I sent it to my mom. And I said my mom is a professional editor, so she edited all the. Without her, my blog was crap at the beginning. My Vietnamese writing at that time was not good. And so she edited my blog and she like liked my blog and things like that. And then suddenly get momentum. And then when I start writing about minimalism, so actually the reason why I wrote about minimalism, because at time minimalism is a big movement in the US and in Japan. However, in Vietnam, I couldn't search. When you search in Vietnamese at that time, there's nothing come up, or it's just like a very short news like piece. And I'm like, what? Like as a researcher, I'm like, is this like I didn't do a good job as a researcher, or is this because of the gap in literature? And so I started writing about minimalism, and my first blog post about that is the title is "Why I Live a Minimalist Lifestyle," and that blog went viral. And yeah, and viral. And the definition of viral, like, I didn't know that time, but the definition of viral at that time for me was like suddenly I woke up in the morning. I posted at nighttime in the US. I woke up and my page blow up. People sharing it, people talking about it. Like, what is it? Like quoting me. And then different news outlet and other blogs in Vietnamese start copying my blog without permission.
So overnight, essentially,
Overnight.
go to sleep thinking, oh, my mom's going to like this one.
Yeah.
And then you wake up and you have an insane amount of alerts and
Yeah.
notifications on your phone.
Yeah. And so I remember I wrote my blog on WordPress. Even WordPress sent me, oh, you have a viral, so they know too. The algorithm know
How
that
do you think that, because I also have a WordPress .com website. How do you think that it went from just, like what sparked this interest other than it obviously you found a gap in the literature, right? Like, was there a certain person or platform that you feel shared it and then it just picked up from there?
So for the Vietnamese audience like Facebook. So in the US, people like Twitter, but in Vietnam, people use Facebook a lot. So I think that platform helped me a lot. But also the viral post I shared earlier, I published about 1 to 2 months. So I think 1.5 months into creating the blog. So I already have a certain number of posts. So when I have the viral post, people would go back like, wow, what is this blog? I never seen before. And I start reading previous posts and they start liking it. And that I think that create a consistent growth rather than just like one hit wonder. But also because me seeing that is a gap, I start producing more and more article on the topic. And because the topic is minimalist lifestyle, and because I pull in different theory, methodology, concept, east, west. So they have different, many different topic to talk about it. Just it's like a research agenda, and you starting having different ideas. And so I think that pick up. And also the thing that make me different, I think, is my writing style at that time. So at that time, now is different, but at that time, one of the things I see the gap in the blogging or Vietnamese writing community in general is that they only write in two ways. One time is a very fictional way. So with a lot of fancy words, connect very romantic way of writing, or it's very just like reporting, like news writing. But there is nothing in between. So like nothing as clear and logic like academic paper, and also add the narrative like qualitative research. So I would say, okay, so I decided that I will write my blog just like I write qualitative narrative based papers, but in the easier language to understand. And so the writing style make people, I think, caught them by surprise. Like, wow, I didn't know Vietnamese can be written like this. And some people did tell me like, your writing style is very westernized, which I say yes, because I'm educated in the US and this is how I see the world and this is how I write. And I think I'm one of the few people at that time writing in that style. And then now people start learning from it, but it's also something very different that I have not seen, people not seen at that time.
Wow, okay. And so at this point now you're like, okay, I obviously this is interesting to people. I'm going to continue to write about minimalism. And then what happens next?
Yeah, so as I said, people wanted to publish the book, which I agree, and I work on the book. So one thing crazy about me is that like I work best when I have at least two projects at the same time.
Mm.
And I don't know why. I don't know it's like any scientific base on this, but like when I work on my dissertation, I need to counter it by writing a book
Like it's
at the
mind,
same time.
mind active and toggling
No,
between different tasks.
yeah, and actually that theme going on in my life. So I have to be both professor or academic and a content creator. I need to write dissertation and I have a creative outlet. It helped me. There's a certain point in my life that I do either one and I completely feel like it's just not it's not me. I just feel much less productive. So anyway, so I was writing the book. It wasn't difficult because I wrote a lot on my blog already. So I it's more like a combining them and solidify the concept, making definition. Like just like in academia, we combine different research paper in the book. And I also collect my data and working on my dissertation at the same time. And the thing that I was completely is shocked that the book actually become a hit. It was national bestseller
Oh my
and it sold out right away. I'm like, at that time I was like, I don't know how people care about this, but it
God.
just was so wonderful. And so to the date, I think the book was sold more than 17,000 copies, which is a lot for Vietnamese audience. It's not like the most best-selling book, but it's definitely in the national best-selling book of certain years.
So the publisher reached out to you, saw this, and then from there it just spiraled into now let's create a book of all of these past writings and blogs, and it's published.
Yeah, but also there's another journey into it is that by the second edition end, which also around 2019, that printing ran out and the book sold out. People at that time, I also opened my YouTube and my podcast channel, and then people know me more because they know from the podcast, know from the YouTube, and they, oh, I want to buy your book. And so all the book got sold out so fast. And I reached out to the publisher again and say, hey, it's sold out. Would you pre-print it? And the publisher say no, because they say that time during COVID, they have different business strategy and they want to prioritize newer book rather than the book that already reprinted 2-3 times like mine, which I completely understand. But then the publisher representative at that time, who also was one of the person later on become one of my good friend, she said, I encourage you to perhaps self-publish your book because you already have the audience. And that led me to another journey of becoming a author slash entrepreneur, because now I had to create, okay, how to find licensing, how to contact printing company, how to print the book, how to design the book, because I had to, because everything is copyrighted, right? So except for my word at the cover, I had to change the illustration, had to change. I had to find printing company and had to find distribution system. So leading to me to build an e-commerce website and then find a different outlet to sell in Vietnam and so on and so forth. And had my team. And so, yeah.
So at this point now, we're not just talking about a blog, right, that your mom is reading. We're talking about a book. We're talking about a podcast series. We're talking about a YouTube channel. We're talking about now self-publishing. This is an entire brand.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but that was the whole thing with I just explained, which just happened in about 2-3 years. It's happened very fast. It's just like everything with social media just happened very fast. And during that time, I also gave birth to my son in 2018. End of 2018, I graduated and finished my dissertation, graduated and working as data analyst, and then COVID. And so when COVID happened, I have a gap in the time. I do have time, I have space, and now I have my family. So I start thinking about, okay, what next? And so that led to the YouTube channel. The reason for the YouTube channel is because I wanted to, there's something that is just easier to show. Like, okay, so how to do the blog, like how to do APA, how to, just like a how-to stuff. I just feel like easier to show in video. And so that is the YouTube channel. And then the podcast. So podcast originally the idea was that I just wanted to reread some of my writing on the blog so that people had a chance to listen to it. Because at that time I've been writing for a long time, like 5-6 years. So my blog was complete like 100 pages. And so it's very hard for people to like find different topic and read about it. So I'm thinking to create a podcast to reread the article. I mean, trust me, I thought about hiring people to read for me or film video for me, but then it just all work out. Like I need to do it myself, and so and then the podcast become more like a space for me to share also my deeper thought or my raw emotion, and so that become what now people like call it like ecosystem. But I didn't have that vision in the beginning. So a lot of reporters in Vietnam and also a lot of people say, how could you build an ecosystem? I was like, I didn't build anything with a vision. It just happened because again, my big why is that I wanted to translate what I learned in the US to create more social justice and equity in education for Vietnamese students. And whatever form it take that I feel that best at that moment, it could be a recent article, it could be a blog, it could be a YouTube video, it could be a podcast series, it could be a book, it could be a planner, anything that serve that big why, I'll do it. And I'll find a mean to do it. And so I didn't think about it as a big vision. It's happened because I scaffolded based on my passion, my big why, and it grow.
No, I appreciate you saying that. And I love hearing that you're saying that, hey, I'm already doing this work. I'm already, as you said, what became an obsession, right? When you first came to the States and pursuing these studies. So now it just seems like a natural way to continue to build and grow. And so I was able to check out your YouTube channel. I know
Thank you.
you shared an academic research playlist, and
Uh-huh.
it covers a variety of topics that I think would be useful for a lot of graduate students. I know you said you have it in closed captioning for those who speak English, and then also for those who want to learn in Vietnamese, if let's say they're in the US and understand, or they live in Vietnam, that it's been a great resource. But you cover how to use API citation,
Mhm.
the literature review, organizing and managing literature, reading strategies, writing
Mhm.
research papers, study tips, personal finance, productivity, minimalism, video essays. And then I was also really struck by the study with me video.
Yes.
Yeah, like, you talked a little bit about these different varieties of content that you create. What have you noticed that's been most, successful or it's drawn the most attention? What type of videos or content seems to be some of your fan favorites?
Now, my YouTube channel is not so I have almost 600,000 subscriber, but my view are not in the millions. The reason why,
One
because my
video you have one video that is of
Yes,
one
yes. So I'm gonna talk about that video.
yeah,
So because it's educational channel, it's not entertaining channel, and so you okay. So today I want to learn this topic, and you search and you find me, or if you have time and want to study with me, then I have those videos. So I didn't really, I couldn't target like viral topic, even though I know which topic will go viral, but I just because it doesn't go along with my agenda, my big why, so I will not do it. But however, the video that did well in my channel is though like in the middle of East and West. So very interesting. So the video that first hits a million view is a video about critical thinking. Now that video is also very controversial because I talk about so actually that video is a part of my lecture for a doctoral student in the US
okay.
because I asked a student to write a reading response critical reading response to their reading that week, and students struggle. They say, "Oh, because it's already publication, how can I critique? I don't feel like I can do it." And these are American students who were raised individualistic, who were raised to raise your voice in class and have to raise hand. And I start thinking, wow, if these students they still have hard time, so how about the Vietnamese student who was in different culture like I was? So I make a mini lecture talking about what is critical thinking, how it's not, how can you criticize without critic without being like become like hateful or misunderstood. And so I delivered a lecture for my student for one of the section at the U of A, and I translate part of that presentation to that videos for Vietnamese audience. And people's like, wow, that's really important because I also want to learn about this, but the audience said, oh, but I thought that's only something like in the West. Now they still saying that, oh, I don't know, it can apply to Vietnam. But I try to make some point that you don't need to be loud to be critical.
Right.
You don't need to attack people to be critical. There are many ways you can be critical. Some way that one of the way that my favorite that you use your personal experience, like, oh, I see what you're saying, but in my own experience, I see this. So can you elaborate for me why there's a difference between your findings, for example, and my experience? Am I like the outliner of your data, or anyone else who have the same feeling with me? And as a researcher, I love the questions. And so that is one of the videos that doing well. It's like something between East and West. Some other videos that doing very well is how to study. Study tips, but I think my study tips become more popular than some other videos because I'm not only when I talk about study tip, I'm not only talking about how to get a better grade, but I also talk about mindset behind it. So like if you want to have a good grade, to me, don't study for the grade. You study for the genuine interest in the class. So coming back to my story of me failing the class because I didn't attend the class, and I just tried to like get over it and pass the class. But when I came back to read the textbook, I found a new interest,
Mhm.
and that leading me to excel in the retake final, and I start my journey. And I wish every student could have that moment like, oh my God, I actually really love it because that changed my life. And so I think those are the videos that did well.
That's right. A book can change people's life. People, that's why they're banning them. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, as we know, in other parts of the world right now. One other item, the planner, the present day
Mhm.
planner. How did this
Yeah.
idea come about and what has that been like releasing that?
So the planner here, if you have the video platform, I have a planner in my hand. The planner, so I create a planner called the Present Day Planner, which is a companion book for you to plan monthly, weekly, and daily, and using different scientific methodology that I learned. For example, the Pomodoro technique, in which you work for 25, 50 minutes and you take a short break, or the Eisenhower matrix, in which you categorize your tasks to important, not important, urgent, not urgent. So I incorporate a lot of scientific based practices in this planner. And so how the planner came about is that, okay, so this is a story of me almost quitting my PhD study. So if anyone who are in PhD program or consider think about doing PhD program and you ever think about quitting, I thought about quitting. So at that time I was pregnant with my son. I was pregnant and I was really feel really down, really sick, and I feel really burned out, and I just feel, I think, mentally, and I was exhausted. And so I at that time, that was the day that I decided to come to my advisor office, who was wonderful, Dr. Kai Schaff. So I was thinking about, like, okay, I will come in to talk to him and say, oh, can I ask for a year defer to figure out my life and things like that. And so to organize my thought, I wrote like a script and I put it in the planner. I have that time, a planner. And I took a bus. And on the bus, I opened the planner. I was practice the script to see how can I talk to him in person. He was so wonderful for me. And now here I am, say that I want to take a break, but actually I wanted to quit because I was really exhausted. And while doing that, I just started realizing that the planner I had at that time, I also had a productivity planner at that time. And the planner is have like different tasks, just like a planner had like, okay, what task of your day. And the end is the planner have a prompt every single day, ask, thinking about your productivity of the day, from the grade of, from the score of 1 to 10, how productive you are. And I started hated it. I was like, okay, so I think this is a reason why I was feeling like so burned out and feel that I'm not enough, because every day I use this planner. And in the end, I grade my productivity as like minus or like 1, 2, because I just, the to-do list is so long. And how do I know how I measure my success? And I remember the time I was on the bus, I was like, well, if I was a designer, how can I change this? And then I remember I would flip the paper in which I have the script. I would flip it and I start drawing. Okay, so first I need to organize this to-do list so that it's not like a long list, but have a priority. Then I need to have some sort of problem. So then people say, okay, so every day if you work X amount hour, then very productive. Not just counting by tasks. Because let's say if you put in your planner that, oh, today I write a research paper, and to the end of the day you wrote like 2 paragraphs, that is wonderful. But like when you see the task and you see, oh my God, that is, I didn't do anything, then you would grade yourself. I don't know. It's like,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. And so I realized that planner really psychologically, although not just a planner, but the way in the West we're trained to like quantify our work and measuring up ourselves was really hurt me at that time mentally. And so that was the beginning. I was like, I want to create a planner that is helping people with productivity, but also very balanced. It should have some paradigms of people to celebrate themselves, reflect, enjoy. Yeah, and so I just keep working on it, and then the buses go around, and by the time it get to the final destination, it was like, "Are you leaving?" And I was pregnant, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm leaving," and then I just go straight home, and I never I would never bother to meet my advisor. So that is the idea, and that was 5 years ago. And so from that ideas, I created prototype, and I didn't know design, so I forced my poor husband, who was very supportive. I forced him to learn InDesign to create the prototype, and then I used that prototype to test out. So I did really truly a research project. So I did test the different population. I did do not control. I was doing different way as a researcher to figure out, okay, how can I change that, how to make it better? And I'll work with different designer, and finally found a person that I think truly understand the purpose, the big one, the book. And so we made it happen, and the book just came out. Just came out 3 months ago.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations. For people who are interested in the planner, can you give a little overview of what they might find inside, how it can be useful, and then also if they want to purchase?
Oh, yeah, thank you. So you will find inside a monthly page in which it's allow you to mark down any deadlines, like a calendar. And then there was a weekly page for you to categorize your tasks that you want to do in the week in the matrix. And then daily, there was a daily page for you to put in your task and also track. Like let's say 25 minutes you're done with, and then you can circle a bubble and it actually looked like this for me today. So today I have a writing section, and now I'm at Ashley podcast, so I will
Yay!
continue on.
I'm on the
Uh,
planner. I'm in the
yes,
planner.
you are. And then to the end of the day, instead of asking you to grade your productivity, my question is my day in one sentence. So you write your day in one sentence. Oh, one thing I forgot that every day the planner start with a gratitude, the quotation and a good positive quotation and a gratitude journal prompt. So my prompt is today I'm grateful for, and then you write out. And the planner, and then and then the end of the week I have a page for reflection. So what you learned the week, how can you apply what you learned to the next week? No shame at all, not like, oh, how did I do? How did I miss? But more like what you learn and what you can do better. And a planner like this, it lasts for 6 months if you do it every day. But obviously, if you skip some day, then it can last longer. But this is for 6 months. And currently, the planner just started distributing in Vietnam, and I'm finding a way to import it and distribute it globally. And so,
Okay.
if you're interested, you can follow me at thepresentwriter.com, and I'll let you know the journey of the planner.
Nice. But can I dare ask what you wrote for what you were grateful for today?
Today, yes. So today I'm grateful for catching up with my research projects.
Nice.
Yeah. So yesterday I wrote today I'm grateful for working with my husband, because we now with the growing of the present writer, my husband actually ended up being a full-time editors for the video. Although he didn't speak any Vietnamese or understand, but he did color correction and music, and he edited some video that I speak in English or I didn't speak in Vietnamese. So he did those study with me video. Yeah, and he become very good editors. In fact, he started having client all over the world, and then I told him like you had to fire your clients and and work for me full time. So he is a big part of my journey as well.
Okay, one more question I want to ask before we move to our final segment here. Some other faculty and academics might be listening and thinking, wow, like Dr. T. Nguyen does a lot. She has the research project, she's a mom, she has the podcast, she has the YouTube. Like, especially like, does this count? Like, how do you, especially for us who are tenure track and early career faculty, I know you're about to go up for your third year review. Are these types of things you're putting on your CV? What feedback, if any, have you received from the institution or your department head on how this type of public intellectual work you're doing, how does that contribute to who you are as a scholar and a researcher?
Yeah, so I had to admit that for my first 2 years of working in at the UA, I hide everything. If you look up anywhere my application, they didn't even see the person right at all. Number one, like I just don't know how people will judge. I had the same question like, was that not only was that cow or not, but also is that something that I'm not supposed to do? You know, is that any conflict of interest? Also, even though I never mention like, unless people ask, like on my profile, say I'm a professor in a research university in the US, and I know I never mentioned U of A, and I never use my career here as, you know, my title as a way to make influence or vice versa. So I didn't mention it. But then I start talking to folks that I have a relationship, and I start building trust to people. And I say, oh, I have this project, but I just afraid of how people will think about it. And then actually people have a lot of positive things. So like, oh, that's actually wonderful. And actually, it's actually an extension of my research because I studied social justice and equity. So everything I do actually is for the community.
Right.
I didn't like having a TikTok dance about, you know, but it's nothing wrong about that. But like, just like, I think it's just harder to to justify you do something completely different, but here I am doing something relevant. So same with you, Ashley, you have this podcast, talk about learning, willing to learn. And so I think I just had to find a way to comfortable with sharing that part and see the importance of it into education. And so I got one feedback I think important is to disclose your outside activity. So it doesn't need to be like conflicts, but it just like disclose. So I did submit a form, disclosure form, so the university know this is what I do. And I only also one thing is I only did my project after hours. So every day after 7:30 in a weekend. One thing playing my advantage is that Vietnam and the US are completely different time zone. And so during the day in the US, it's not the time to work in Vietnam. And so I work after, and then I have my team to work. And so it doesn't really affect my productivity. And I told you that I need to have both to be productive. So it's really beneficial. I talked to the dean last summer, and he actually said, "Wow, actually, that's very cool." And he actually said, "Oh, mention the University of Arizona, so maybe people would go to university because of you from Vietnam." I didn't think about that before. It's like I could make a good impression about the university, and so for my CV, my dossier, all my work listed as I think listed as outreach and service with a YouTube podcast and blog. And my publication I listed in other publication like nonfiction, invention with a planner. Yeah, so I did list out that, and also one of the things that I also hid it in the past is that I actually got featured a lot of podcasts and media, mainstream media in Vietnam and other places for the present writer. But I didn't never include it. But now with the dean's support, I started to incorporate that into the media mention section of my CV. Most of my interviewers in Vietnamese, so I did have translation in part that needed. But yeah, totally, you should not hide it because there's nothing to be ashamed of. And if you have any uncertainty, find a faculty member that you trust and ask them the process of how to disclose your work and talk about it in different way.
No, I think that's phenomenal. And obviously a part of this podcast, I want to highlight how people are navigating and integrating creative approaches to the research and how they share that research with various audiences. And so I thought you would make a fantastic guest on sharing how you've
Yeah.
been able to find so many different avenues and spaces where you can share your knowledge. And I really admire it. Um,
Oh, thank you.
you're welcome. Before we go, I want us to just play a little game called In My Expert Opinion. And basically, I'm just going to rattle off a few hot topics, and I want you to give
Oh,
your initial reaction on the matter. So, for instance, number one, faculty or academics who are interested in using social media to share their research. What's your hot take?
I say, why not go for it, but make it meaningful. So when you share, not just shout out, I had the publication, but maybe give out some insight to it. Like I started when I was graduate student, or I work with my graduate student, or why I do it. So they'll give out some more behind the scene or any more meaningful other than just shout out.
Okay, great. Number two, when you're working based on your work with immigrant Asian youth, what do you feel is something that they're looking for or needing in their organizations or in their education right now?
Immigrant people, immigrant students, especially international student, minority student, they really want to find someone that they feel that can understand their journey, that they can talk to, they can relate to. So that's why I feel part of me I want, even though I'm such an introverted person, I feel like I want to for people to see me. I want to be seen. I want to be representative because I know that would inspire other people, especially immigrant students who say, "Oh, wow, she from Vietnam. English is not her first language, and she wasn't come from a wealthy family, but she looked like me, and here she is, a professor, and she have different avenue. And on top of that, she's still a mom, and she's still able to have a family." So I think that minority students really need models like that, some mentors, some guidance that really understand their journey and can share with them and give them courage.
Okay, great. Number three, and we can end with this one. Minimalism still play in your life? Is it still important? Has that changed?
Minimalism is a huge part in my life, but it definitely evolved as I evolve, minimalism evolved. So I'm actually working on my second nonfiction book. So the first book translated into English. I'm working on the English translation. The first book, the title is Holistic Minimalism.
Oh,
So my idea is that minimalism is not just about throwing away your belongings. So many people think that minimalism is about cleaning. No, if cleaning, it's called cleaning. It's not called minimalism. But minimalism for me, more holistically, is how you see the world, how you see yourself, how you see cluster not only in your physical spaces but also in your mind, how you can turn something so complex, but you try to get into the core of that problem. Just like research, you get into the core of the problem and you focus on that. That for me is holistic minimalism. But so throughout the year I evolved. So I think I sort of master the mindset of the minimalist mindset. So I see everywhere as how can I be more simple here? How can I be more minimalistic here? But at some point, especially now, it's getting harder and harder to say no to certain thing because before it's just like, okay, so that this too toxic, people don't, I don't want to talk to. But now, like, opportunity that I love, like this podcast, or I got the podcast, or opportunity for collaboration, grant writing. But then I still have to pick and choose because my time is limited as everyone else. And so how can you even be more minimalist and choosing among all the positive thing? Before, it's like choose between negative and positive thing that you need and not need. But here, if everything is great, how can you choose? How can you choose the most refined part in your life? And so my next book, teaser, gonna call Refine Minimalism. And so it's getting talk more about more advanced version of the first book.
okay, great. Thank you. So before I let you go, do you have any resources that you recommend to listeners to learn more about the type of work you do, or to learn about establishing a brand and a social media presence?
Yeah, I think, there are different resources online for free, but I think several books that helped me in my journey. So for academic journey, I recommend the book The Professor Is In. She also have a blog and she also inspired me to give academic advice. So The Professor Is In, the book that compiled a former professor, tenure full professor advice on how to get a job in academia and advance in your career. Of course, some of her advice will not apply to everyone because she also have limitation based on her own experience and her time and her expertise. She formed anthropology field, I think. And so, but then that was still a very good book. And so I recommend that book. For media, social media building, I think there are different very good book about brand building, but I suggest a book, The Expert Secret by Russell Brunson. So that is a book more about business, but it's how to create a brand, a business based on your expertise. So when you're the expert, it will be very different. If you're not an expert, then you have to choose a different way than rabbit. When you're the expert, how can you build a brand based on your expertise?
Oh, nice. I want to definitely look into that book. Thank you for sharing. Just remind listeners where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me as the present writer. My content will be in Vietnamese, but if you want to reach out to me, my email is Nguyen23 at arizona.edu.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on to Willing to Learn.
Thank you.